Hello, in this video I'm going to explain subtraction. For this problem we have 7,433 minus 1366. Okay, so we're going to start by subtracting the rightmost digits right here. This is the ones digits, the ones column, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. So we're going to start by subtracting this first and move down to the left. So we have 3 minus 6. Whenever the top number is smaller than the bottom number, we cannot subtract that. We have to borrow. And where we borrow from is the next digit over. We have to borrow from this 3 here. So when we borrow, we have to slash the 3 out, so that way it becomes a 2. The one that we borrowed from here comes next door to this number and makes it bigger. Basically, we're adding 10 to it. So the one that we borrow from here, you can either put down here to make it a 13, or some people write 13 up here. Either way works. So this 3 got transformed to a 13 because we borrowed a 1 from the tens spot. So now we have 13 minus 6. We can go ahead and do that, and that gives us 7. We're done subtracting. In this column, we moved over to the next column, the tens column. Here we have 2 minus 6. Well, again, we cannot subtract this. 2 is too small for 6. We got to look to the left digit and see if we can borrow. If it's not a 0, we can borrow. It's a 4, so we can borrow. We're going to slash the 4 out. The 4 becomes a 3. The one that we borrowed from here comes next door. Put the number in front, put the 1 in front, and this becomes a 12. This is now a 12. And we can subtract this. We have 12 minus 6, and that gives us 6. Now we move over to the next column right here. We have 3 minus 3. We do not need to borrow. We only borrow if this number here, the top number, is smaller than the bottom number. If it's the same or bigger than the bottom number, we can just subtract the way it is. 3 minus 3 is 0. Then we move over to the thousands place. 7 minus 1 is 6. So the answer appears to be 6,067. Let's type that into MyLab Plus, make sure that works. Let's try another problem. Okay, so for this one here, we have 4,100 and we're going to subtract 118. Now, where you put the 118 is very important. You have to make sure that everything lines up. In other words, the ones digits line up, the tens digit line up, the 100 digits line up, and so on. So this smaller number has to be right aligned with the bigger number. Now we can subtract. So we have 0 minus 8. This top number is too small for the bottom number, so we have to borrow from the next digit to the left. But that's a 0. We cannot borrow from 0 because 0 cannot give us anything. It's 0. So we have to borrow from the next digit over, which is 1. We borrow from the 1 becomes a 0. And what happens is the one that we borrow from here temporarily comes over and makes this a 10. This is now a 10 temporarily. Because this is a 10, we can borrow from the 10, slash the 10 out, and that becomes a 9. The one that we borrow from here comes over here and makes this a 10. This stays as a 10 because we don't have to borrow from this to give it to another number. This is the last digit, so it's going to stay as a 10. Now we can begin subtracting right here. So we have 10 minus 8, and that's 2. 9 minus 1, 8. 0 minus 1, cannot do that. So we have to borrow from the next digit to the left. Slash the 3 out, that becomes the 4, becomes a 3. The one that we borrowed from here comes next door and makes this a 10. So this is now a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 3 minus nothing is still 3. So the answer looks like is 3,982. Let's try it out, see if it works. Okay. Let's try one here where the numbers are not lined up already for you. So we have 207,541. Minus 9666. So again, the bottom number smaller, we have to right align it. So we have 9 and 3 6s. That way the 1's digits line up, the 10's digit line up, and so on and so on. This is how you convert the side-to-side subtraction into vertical. So we're going to begin by subtracting the rightmost digits here. 1 minus 6, cannot do that. So we have to borrow from the next digit over, slash the 4 out, that becomes a 3. The one that we borrow from here makes this an 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. Now we have 3 minus 6. Cannot do that. Got to borrow from the next one. So 5 slashes out. That becomes a 4. The one that we borrow from here makes this a 13. 13 minus 6 is 7. Now we have 4 minus 6. We cannot do that. Got to borrow from the next one. Slash the 7 out. That becomes a 6. The one that we borrow from here makes this a 14. So we have 14 minus 6. Okay, and that's going to give us 8. Now we go over to this column. 6 minus 9. Nope, we have to borrow from the next digit over. But the next digit is a 0, so we cannot borrow from there. So we have to borrow from this 2. Go all the way out to the 2. Slash the 2 out. The 2 becomes a 1. The one that we borrow from here temporarily makes this a 10. Because this is a 10, we can borrow from the 10. So slash the 10 out. This becomes a 9. The one that we borrowed from here comes next door and makes this a 16. So now we have 16 minus 9, and that's 7. 9 minus nothing is still 9. 1 minus nothing is still 1. So let's put that in the system and make sure that works. Okay, I think we'll do one more. This problem has multiple zeros, and sometimes this tricks a lot of students. So let's do one of these guys. So we have 6,008 minus 3,219. All right, So we'll start from the right-hand side. 8 minus 9. Cannot do that because 8 is too small for 9, so we have to borrow from the next digit. But wait, it's 0. Cannot borrow from here, so we have to borrow from the next one to the left. That's also 0. So we have to keep going until we find a non-zero digit. So we keep going all the way over here to the 6. We borrow from the 6. The 6 becomes a 5. The one that we borrow from the 6 comes next door and makes it a 10 temporarily. Because this is a 10, we can borrow from the 10, slash the 10 out. This becomes a 9. The one that we borrow from here comes next door, makes this a 10 temporarily. Because it's a 10, we can borrow. This becomes a 9. And then finally, we can bring the one that we borrow from here in front of the 8, and this becomes an 18. 18. So the key for this kind of a problem is to borrow by going to the left as needed until you hit a non-zero digit. But then when you start going backwards to the right, you go back one number at a time. Don't jump from the 6 all the way to the 8. Go back and distribute the 1 as you go from left to right. All right, so we have 18 minus 9. That's 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, let's put that in the system to make sure it works. And there it is. So that's how you perform subtraction. If you like my content, click the like button, post your comments, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.